So I've been a barber who's been charging 16 bucks a haircut, as well as a barber who's charged well over $150 a haircut, and getting in clients at both price points. And I recently made a post talking about that there is no freedom charging $35 for a haircut as a barber. And there was a lot of, like, let's say, barbers who were defending this $35 haircut idea. Now, me as a business owner, which again, as barbers, we are business owners, I think it's completely wild and kind of a disgrace as a business owner to want to keep prices low or keep your business low. I think it's your mission to be able to grow and scale, to see your outer limits, because that's just one of my core beliefs as a human in general. So what I want to do in this video and podcast episode is really break down why there is no freedom at $35 haircuts from my firsthand experience, my beliefs about this, so that way for you who might be turmoiled with or just like conflicted with charging lower prices for a haircut versus charging higher prices for a haircut, you can make the best decision for yourself inside of your business. Now, when a lot of barbers say you should keep prices low and charge like 35 bucks or whatever low price you guys think. I think a lot of barbers come from a place of scarcity because I know for myself when I was charging 16, 20 bucks a haircut, it wasn't because I wanted to not make money. My goal was to make money because I wanted freedom in barbering. That thinking really derived from more of a scarcity mindset of like, oh man, I don't know if I can do that. What if I fuck my business up? Which is the wrong thinking in a business sense. A business will always have two problems: a problem that you solve for clients and a problem that you solve inside of your own business. And the reason why, let's say, a business does not grow and scale is because you're not solving the problem in your current business. So when barbers say there is like for $35 is what you should be charging, all I hear is I'm not willing to go ahead and solve the problem in my business because I'm a lazy fuck. And I don't like being a lazy fuck. So, really what I want to start off with is like the idea of charging $35 a haircut is really, again, to be able to serve as many people as possible, because apparently there are more people who are more willing to charge 35 bucks or pay $35 for haircuts, so you'll have more clients. However, in a business, our sense is to make money. And so to make money $35 a haircut, this is what you have to do. You have to work long days, like meaning like more hours every single day, like not just like 8 hours a day, but like sometimes 12, 15, 18 hours a day. Day after day, just to make consistent good money. You either have to do that plus and or cut hair faster, meaning like you don't do, let's say 30-minute haircuts, or you don't do hour-long haircuts, you do 30-minute haircuts or 20-minute haircuts, or whatever you think is like the cool thing to do. None of these really appealed me at all, because I was like, I got into business not to have to work longer days or more hours. I got into business so I didn't have to use that 9-to-5 mentality overall. To be able to, be able to work less, make more, and have not, like, let's say, a cap on my income based on my workload. Because if that was the case, then why the fuck do I not just get like a stable job at some, let's say, 9-to-5, a warehouse job where the more harder I work, the more I earn. That's what I wanted to avoid, which I think a lot of you want to fucking avoid as well too, which is why you became barbers, not only just for the freedom aspect, but also the freedom on, what you could do and make. The faster cuts thing for me, I get this at a sense, right? A lot of bars are like, oh man, if I just learn how to go ahead and do 20-minute haircuts, and if I'm charging 20 bucks, technically per hour, I'm making 60 bucks an hour. That's a good theory, right? But for a lot of people, like myself, I thought this was, I tried this. And like, this to me was like an absolute hell. Like, I don't want to fucking like have to do more work in that hour, do more work just to make more money to increase my per hour rate. Because again, we fall back onto now I have to work harder, work faster in order to make more money. I want to be able to go into my business, and for me, I wanted a business where I had peace of mind, not be stressed out trying to like just knock each client out every single fucking haircut in 20 minutes. And for me personally, I just wanted to give a fucking good haircut. I know I can give a much better service and haircut in an hour than I can do in 20 minutes. And if you say no, you can't. You can give a good service in 20 minutes, sure, but I want to give the best experience possible and best service possible, and I don't want to have to feel fucking rushed, right? Again, in a job, I feel like I'm rushed, right? If I'm working at Amazon, all my let's say managers or whatever are going to force me to go ahead and fucking work harder or do things faster. I don't want to do that in my business unless, again, I see the potential return to make more money for less work. Now, a lot of barbers fall into this trap because they see that as like, a lot of us come to the hustle mentality. Like, look, I played sports growing up. I did a valet job before I even became a barber. I worked valet in Sacramento, California for like 2 years before I became a barber. And like that whole mentality is like, oh, hustle harder, work more, work harder, work more, work harder. But I just saw that long-term wise as a trap. I'm like, yeah, I'm 20 years old doing this, but I don't want to fucking have to do this at 40 years old, because I saw people who were like legit in their 40s, having to do the same running around to collect tips and work harder and hustle more cars just to make more money. I'm like, dude, I don't want that to be like, I thought that was like the dumbest shit possible, right? I was like, look, I get it. People got to do what they got to do to get money. But you also got to do what you got to do to make sure you're not that 40-year-old person. And I think a lot of people make up a fucking excuse. Oh, well, you don't know what happened in their life. I know they had fucking time. And they had decisions of what they wanted to do with that time, and they didn't take care of that time and the decisions they made to actually grow and scale themselves up to where they don't have to be fucking working a valet job at 40 years old. Like, you know, and like I hear people like, they'll be like, well, people have responsibilities, people have kids. There's fucking things called condoms, you know? And like my belief is like you should never, I personally will never have a kid. I'm always kind of on the, like, I don't think I will ever want to have kids, but like I would never want to bring a kid in unless financially I'm set and I plan it out. Like I'm just not going to fucking do that to that living person because I want to make sure that that life has everything that they desire, meaning financially, meaning stability, meaning emotionally just for me as well too. That way I'm not stressed out. But also I want to be able to put some time into that kid as well too. If I was to ever have kids. So for me, I'm like, why the fuck would I like want, again too, why would I waste time right now to where when I'm 40 years old, I still have to be doing like, let's say, hustling harder because I made poor decisions that put on more responsibility on my back to where at 40 years old, now I have to, this is my only fucking option, right? Now, in my belief, right, you could do this, the longer hours, more hours, faster cuts, but I was like, I tried to like think about it as well too. Like, okay, if I do that and I set myself up for this business, long-term wise, can I do this day after day, year after year for 5-6 days out of the week? For me, that's not sustainable. It's not a lifestyle that I want to live. And when I say not sustainable, I mean not sustainable for me. Some guys in this barber industry, I mean, that's all they fucking know. And so they're like, they give themselves no other option. I'm like, I have the fucking option because I got no responsibilities. I got no kids, no wife, no nothing. It's just me. And so I can make a better choice in this thing because some people are forced to make certain decisions in their business based on their current lifestyle. If I have the opportunity to not make that dumb decision, I'm not going to fucking do it. And when I say dumb, I mean, I think it's dumb as fuck to still be doing this when you're 40 years old and be stuck in the shop day in and day out. And I think a lot of barbers feel that way. Yet the majority of the industry preaches this dumb shit. Because like it's like, look, yeah, but a lot of barbers have gotten into this industry out of like that was their only option and they had no other choice. If I have a choice to make this thing different, I'm going to make sure that I make the different choice to structure my business differently. Now, to me, like I just thought, what freedom does that give me and my family later on, right? What freedom does longer hours, more hours throughout the day, more days worked and working harder, that doesn't mean freedom. Like freedom to me is being able to have peace of fucking mind. Not only peace of mind, like let's say, to not have to work myself and force myself to work when I don't want to work, but also peace of mind of like, I don't want to be stressed every fucking day when I go into work, right? I want it to be I wanted it to be something where I could enjoy it for the long term. I didn't do a 9-to-5 or a valet job because I saw myself as hating that eventually. And I looked at this, the faster cuts, more hours, more days, longer hours, as sure I could do it right now, but eventually I'm going to resent that thing. So why would I build something I'm going to resent at some point in time? Now, I also thought like for this instance, like, do I really want my life to just be behind the chair charging $35 a haircut? Because if I do that, only stay at $35 or quote unquote reasonable price, and I'm using $35 by the way as like a random price point. This could be $40, this could be $50, this could be $25, right? It's like, to me, this is just like you're staying at the same level year after year. And I thought to myself, do I really want my life just to be behind the chair and stuck behind a chair day after day? And I had to think, I'm like, well, no, I want to be able to take vacations. I want to be able to have time off. I want to be able to have flexibility in my life. I don't want that shit. So like, then why am I going ahead and building something that's going to build me into a trap when, again, too, I don't have to force myself into that. I can make a different choice right now because I have the freedom. The next thing I thought about was like, you know, what am I going to be most proud about when I'm like, let's say 60 or 80 years old? Like, am I going to be so proud that I just basically stayed and worked in a barbershop my whole life? And proud that I just basically did the average of what everyone else does? And for me, I had to really take a long, hard look at this and like, no. Like, because for me, the things I'm going to be most proud about when I'm like older or about to die is growth in myself. And that, like, I grew myself and my business to a level that forced me to become a different person and forced me to develop myself to become better. And as a byproduct of that, as a byproduct of helping myself, I also help others. Because I think a lot of people, when they say, oh, you're so selfish, like you just only think about growth in yourself, how dare you, what about other people? It's like, well, what do you think I'm going to do? Just like fucking sit here and just like, just be alone by my success? I'm going to be able to like help inspire other people. I'm going to give them a different pathway, which obviously like right now, you can see the fruits of that labor. Because I went ahead and thought differently on this and I didn't want to do any of this stuff, it allowed me to grow and scale my business, which then again too, now I've affected the entire barber industry because now we're on this wave of the new era wave where every barber, there are more barbers out there, I won't say every barber, but there are more barbers out there who want to grow and scale, who don't want the dumb bullshit of what the OG barbers preach. And it all came from one thing, me. Me being a little bit, quote unquote, selfish with my personal growth and wanting to do better and inspiring everyone else to be like, wow, you know what? I could probably do better myself as well, too. It's like the theory of like, the 4-minute mile. And like, if you're not familiar with the story, it's like, years and years ago, people thought, running a mile in under 4 minutes was like absolutely humanly, physically impossible. Until one guy did it. And so for thousands of years, no matter what people did, because the belief was you could not run a mile under 4 minutes, nobody did it. Nobody achieved it. And it took one person to be like, I'm going to go ahead and achieve this thing, to work hard at that goal. And when he actually accomplished it, I believe like 6 months later, 20 other people, or maybe like a couple months later, 20 other people ran a mile in under 4 minutes. And to me, that's a physical proof that the belief that you have about is the thing possible. Anything is possible with hard work. But the thing that holds us back the most, especially barbers, is wanting to see other people do it for themselves first. It's my belief of like, look, nobody else was charging $100 a haircut when I was cutting in Sacramento, California. I thought, you know what? Why the fuck not me? Like, just because everyone else isn't doing it doesn't mean I can't do it, because I have high belief in myself. I'm like, yo, I'm a great motherfucker. I think I'm better than most people. And so if most barbers don't charge that, well, it's probably because they just aren't skilled and they don't know what the fuck they're doing. So why the fuck would I hold myself and my standards to people who are probably also below average and they're getting below average results? Why would I hold myself that same standard? It's completely insane to me. And for me, I don't want to be average. I want to be better. And to me, $35, $50, whatever the thing is, the price point is, what's typical for your area, is average. And I don't want to be like associated with people who are average, because people who are associated with average, number one, they don't do work. They just sit there and just do the bare minimum. I always think in myself, like, I know how great I can become through the work I can do. And so if I know that, then why the fuck am I going to just go and settle for average? I want to be exceptional. I want to be above, like, let's say, far and above away what the average, quote unquote, is overall. And so for me, charging $35 a haircut, all of that didn't equal freedom. It didn't equal freedom in, let's say, my regrets. It didn't equal freedom in, let's say, and for damn sure didn't equal freedom on money, because again, too, I didn't want to go ahead and do 30-minute haircuts. I want to do hour-long haircuts, and I didn't want to work 12 hours a day. I only wanted to work 8 hours a day. And so now I'm limited to like $35 a haircut for 8 haircuts a day, 5 days a week. How much money could I make from doing that? Well, let me pull out my calculator because I don't have this right off the top of my head. So 35 times 8 equals about $280 a day. Times 5 equals $1,400 a week. Not bad. Times 4, $5,600 a month overall. Not including tips, so probably about 6.5K. I think a lot of barbers and a lot of people see 6.5K, man, that would be great. That would be great for an average motherfucker. There's people out here who are making 6.5K a fucking minute, 6.5K a fucking day, 6.5K a fucking week. And so to me, I'm like, well, I'm no different than them. They breathe the same air. They bleed the same blood. They eat food every single day. Like, why the fuck am I going to go hold myself back just for an average because it's, quote unquote, it's never been done or it's never been done before? I'm going to go ahead and show that it is possible, right? Now, obviously, this is for clear. I did not want to do this shit whatsoever. I did not see any freedom in this. And one of my biggest values in life is freedom. Freedom from regret, freedom in what I can make, freedom in how I can live my life and design it how I want to overall. And so when I said, I don't want this at all, because this is what this gets me, and this is not what freedom is to me. I then had to think, so what do I need to do and what needs to happen in order for me to not have, like, let's say, be held to this average thinking? Well, number one, I had to understand that I'm in charge of how I conduct my business, okay? and I'm not in charge of what my clients can pay. And what I mean by this is this. When I was a barber at first, I felt so conflicted because if I don't want to charge $35 a haircut and I wanted to charge more for a haircut, obviously charging $50, $60, $80, $100, that means I had it do I have to get new clientele, or I had to obviously tell my clients, hey, I'm charging this much. And my first hesitation was, but what will my clients think? What if they can't pay? And I had to really understand I'm not their mom or dad. I'm not in charge of their finances or their life. I'm in charge of myself, my business, and just because someone, let's say a client who is currently in my business, cannot afford my price point, that does not mean for me to keep my prices low. That means that number one, that person is probably not going to be a good long-term client for me and themselves as well too, and they will always do what's best in their best self-interest, so they will probably go and find a different barber. What that means for me is that I need to go ahead and also learn how to get new higher paying clients to replace that client. And it's not a bad thing at all to replace a client, okay? Everyone should have free will, and everyone does have free will over who they spend their money with. And I just need to really understand for myself that I can't keep my business down low just because some people can't pay. That just only tells me that I need to get different people into my business. Now, what also needed to happen is I needed to understand clearly what drives business forward. And because when I was a barber charging like 20 bucks, 15 bucks, 16 bucks, I thought, man, if I need to charge more, I need to add more into my service. I need to provide more. Well, if I'm charging more, obviously, my clients need to see that I'm providing more for them. This is incorrect thinking, and here's why. Because adding more services, for me, comes back down to I have to do more just to validate my price point. That's not how business works. Business is a game of value, which is correct. Value is by solving a problem for a client, not what you add in there. Because if I go to a business, let's say, I don't know, let's say I work with a CPA, someone who does my taxes, right? I am not looking for the person who can just give me a lot of stuff for a low dollar point. I don't care if they go ahead and, let's say, send me letters, send me a birthday cake, take me out my birthday. None of that matters if they can't solve my problem of doing my taxes properly and getting me the lowest tax or getting the best tax benefits overall. The person who solves my problem the best will get my money, and I'm more than willing to pay to have that problem solved even better. Because who would you rather have as a law-abiding citizen who hopefully pays taxes, right? Would you want someone, a tax person who does your taxes, to just give you free waters, alcohol, and all this shit for $1,000? Or would you want the person who can get you the best tax benefits and pay them maybe $1,200, maybe $1,500, maybe $2K? Because now you see the value add in that by solving the problem of lowering that tax bill for yourself. And it's not about what you add in. And you have to think about it like this. Just because, let's say, you add in a hot towel, just because all of a sudden you add in, let's say, I don't know, you spray cologne on your clients, does doing that have a direct reflection of when you spray that bottle of cologne, when you apply that hot towel, new clients all of a sudden pop up into your chair? No, they don't, right? Because that's not what drives business forward. Does having better convos make new people book with you directly? No. It just means you have a better conversation with your current client. The only thing that drives business forward is marketing. Marketing, getting new eyeballs, and converting those eyeballs into business is the only thing that pushes your business forward. All the other stuff does is just add more work that doesn't affect the end result of growing the business. And when I got really clear in this sense, I started looking out in the barber industry, and you can do this for yourself. Would you really go to someone who adds a bunch of extra stuff into their service but can't solve the problem that you have with your hair or your beard? Or would you rather pay more for the person who solves the problem better? For me, and I'll take an example. For those of you listening on Spotify or on YouTube, you can see this. Obviously, you're an app podcast. You can go check this out on Spotify podcast. But on my beard, of course, I have two sides of my beard, right? I have both sides of my face. One side of my beard is very nice and full. It looks full like on camera. But one side of my beard is very nice and full. Like even if you just line it up right here, right now, towards like the edge of my mouth, the line's going to be nice and crisp. The other side of my beard, it's kind of around where, like, let's say that sideburn ends and it starts going to the actual beard, there's a little bit of a light spot. And when you start blending that down, the light spot gets a little bit lighter. And so if a barber lines up the first side that's perfect first and then lines up the side that has the light spot in it, the line is going to be off on both sides because I also have big cheekbones and my face structure is different on both sides. Everyone has that. Now, if that's my problem, right? And if I had a choice between going to a barber who charges $50, who gives me a hot towel, who gives me a massage, who gives me alcohol, who sprays me with cologne afterwards, but gets my line off, which means he doesn't fix my problem that all, or a barber who charges $100, but he gets my line up perfect every single time, but he doesn't give me anything additive. It's just that beard done. I am 1,000% of the time going to the barber who charges $100 because they solve that problem. Because I'm going to the barber to solve a problem for myself. Now, you might think, but Daniel, like, there are people out there who the problem that they want solved is just a fast haircut. That is correctamundo. 100% correct. I'm just not that barber for those clients, right? That is not how I'm going to conduct my business at all. I'm going to be a barber who, there are also equally amount of people who think like me, who just want the problem solved. I don't want all the additives, and I don't care, like, again, if you take, I don't really care for 30-minute haircuts. If you take an hour, I don't fucking mind. Now, I might mind if you take 5 hours, but I don't think anyone's going to do that with my beard just to solve a problem. But, again, I just want my problem solved because I want my look a particular way, and that's what's more important to me, not what I can get with the thing. And you're always going to have people who do this. There will be people in the marketplace, in any business. There are people who want more stuff added in, and typically these are cheap people, right? Cheap people want more stuff that they can get from the same price point. And there are also going to be people who will pay a higher price point to not have any of the extra stuff in there, but keep the main thing, and solve the main issue they have, right? That is the one thing they care about at the end of the day. We'll take another example as well, too, right? So let's say you, I mean, it's going to be a bad example, but let's say you have cancer, right? God forbid. But let's say you have cancer. If you have the choices between to go into two doctors, one doctor or one hospital or specialist, they will go ahead and you go in and they go ahead and cure your cancer within 5 minutes of the operation and you're done. The other side is going to take 5 months. There's probably a chance that the tumor might grow and the cancer might go ahead and get bigger and worse. But guess what? They give you some free food and they go ahead and give you a nice bed to sleep in. Which one, and they charge, like, let's say, less money than the first one. Which one are you going to go with? Obviously the first one, because you want that problem solved. You want that cancer gone and done with. That's this problem that people solve. And so I always come back down to this. We have to understand our thing in business as barbers is how well we solve the problem. Our thing is not how much more we can add into the service. And so when you think, again, too, if you are someone like myself who does not want to who knows they don't have freedom from $35 haircuts, and you know you need to charge higher price points, the thing you have to understand, the thing that drives business forward is getting new clients. Also, you don't need to add more into your service. You need to solve the problem better for your clients. And you do this by talking to clients, by asking them what the problem is, by understanding what is their main problem, and then coming up with a better solution. And then being a barber that solves one problem for one person really well. Because there's one person that has that problem, there's other people who have that problem as well too, and then you become that go-to person, right? Now, the problem that I experience as well too in business, building off again to this $35 haircut, is, I always felt like I needed to add more in there. Well, the problem was, like we just said, you don't need to add more in there to add more work, and it's not really solving the problem. The reason why that was a problem for me at first, and the hard thing to get over, probably just like it is for many of you who are listening to this, is that I didn't feel like I was enough. I didn't feel like what I provided was enough. I didn't feel like I was a good enough barber for the XYZ price point. And that bled into my business. Because it also bled everywhere else. I'm a big believer. Nobody has personal problems. Nobody has business problems. Everyone has personal problems that bleeds in their business. And my personal problem was I didn't believe I was enough. And I think a lot of us as barbers have this in us, and it's very evident. Because if you look at throughout your entire business, what do you do? Where do you overextend yourself and do more than what you know you should do just to validate something? Because why the fuck would I pay all this money to go to barber school? Why would I take all this time to learn how to cut hair and basically tell myself this isn't good enough to charge X price point for? I didn't do all that fucking hard work. I didn't pay all that money to go to barber school and get my license just to go ahead and have to learn how to do more. In fact, I needed to be able to understand business. Because business doesn't require you to, let's say, add more in. In fact, less is more in business, which means the less that you try to add on, the less that you do, and the more you focus on the main things that actually drive business forward and the true core business principles, which I think a lot of barbers have trouble with, is understanding core business principles. When you get in tune with that and focus and double down on those things, you'll be so surprised how much faster, how much easier your business can grow. For an example, one of our private clients, Osvaldo, who cuts in Milwaukee, he came in making $5K per month. He was getting about 11 to 15 new clients every single month. In the first 30 days of working with us, he went ahead and got 183 new clients booking with him. He scaled from 5K per month to 10K per month in the first 30 days of working with us in Milwaukee and was able to raise his price points. We didn't add on any services. We didn't keep prices low. We did do a price raise in there. And we didn't feel like, we didn't need to have better conversation and all this other bullshit. We focused on two things: product market fit, meaning solving a problem, highlighting that problem, and only solving that one problem for people, and marketing. How do we get more people knowing about our business? How do we convert these people into eyeballs into our business? And then also, too, how do we separate ourselves from everyone else in the Milwaukee market? Because there's obviously a lot of barbers in Milwaukee. And we do this countless of times as well, too. I've been running this new era barbering business for the last 5 years, and we've helped barbers not only in Canada, US, and also Australia scale to over 20 and 30K per month. Getting over our highest number of new clients a barber has gotten in a single month has been 355 by Ty Nguyen. He cuts in Richmond, Virginia, and he was getting clients who drove anywhere between 3 to 5, even upwards of 10 hours away. When you can expand your reach, and when you can go ahead and not add things in, keep business simple, and when you can focus on things that actually drive business forward, you will reach the people and get in front of the correct people who are more than willing to pay that high price point, who are more than willing to say, yes, I'm going to pay you that. And even if you're still thinking, but how am I going to get those clients in there? You have to get in front of new people. This doesn't come from word of mouth. This doesn't come from this doesn't come from passing out business cards. This doesn't come from taking walk-ins. This comes from social media. And social media has completely changed the game and what we do as barbers. And so I have two asks for you before we wrap up here. My first ask is, if this podcast helped you and understand business a little bit more, that is one of my main core missions in life right now, is to help barbers understand business so they can grow and scale so they don't feel lost and hopeless like I did back as a barber. If this did bring you value and help you learn something, my first ask is this. My first ask is you either go ahead and send this podcast to one barber, send this episode to them so they can go ahead and start growing and scaling their business and get a better eye view on truth of what the barber industry is, because it's my belief there's too much bullshit that's being spewed out today from all these OG barbers, from all these educators out here who just want a soapbox platform to talk about their life and feel like they're important when they're still stuck in a bad financial bind. And I've talked to a lot of these guys on calls over the last 5 years, and a lot of them have less than $2,000 in the bank account. A lot of them, even though the flashiest person on social media who goes to all the shows, they are fucking financially broke. And so why the fuck are we listening to these people who financially are just in a fucking shitty place? If you do not have somebody to send it to, then obviously what you can do for me overall, and I would highly appreciate this, is just take a snapshot or a screenshot of this episode and go ahead and post it as a story on your Instagram social media platform, and make sure you tag me. I would love to see who listens to the podcast overall. I would love to check out your guys' profiles out and see what you guys are doing inside of business overall, because as a podcasting platform, I don't really get to see who is watching this. My second ask is this. If you are a barber who actually wants to grow and scale your business, and you've been listening to my content for a while, and you've been watching everything from the sidelines, whether it be for the last 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 6 years, even 5 years, my last ask is this. Why have we not gotten to work together? What more do you need to see to be able to understand that what we have here is growing and changing barbers' lives? We added literally 5K per month in one barber's business in the first 30 days. Our average client right now that we work with in the first 30 days of working with us adds 2.2K to their monthly income in the first 30 days. That is the average barber. These are barbers who are brand new, making $800 a month. These are barbers who have been established, making 10K per month. We add about, on average, 2.2K to their monthly income in the first 30 days. In the first 90 days of working with us, we add, on average, to our average barber that we work with, about 5.8K to their monthly income, which totals 69K added to their yearly income. If you are not doing things that is adding 69K to your yearly income over a 9-day period, then you have to understand you are doing something disastrous in your business. There is something completely off and you need to fix it. And my one question is, why the fuck would you have the help like this and not go ahead and take that? So my one ask is this: if you're a barber who actually wants to grow and scale your business and tired of sitting on the sidelines, I will leave a link down below in the About section of this podcast. On Spotify, you have to swipe down a little bit. Apple Podcasts, a little bit easier. And there's a link to go ahead and check out a free training to book a call with my team. You can book a call and we can take a look at your business, start helping you grow and scale this business. Or if you have other questions, you are more than feel free to ask me any questions you have on my Instagram profile at Deluxe, DLUCS_. But my last request overall, even if you don't book a call with us, even if you don't go ahead and send this to a friend or post this on your story and tag me, you have to change something, because our industry has been down too low. Our industry has been, very held back from this terrible, let's say, virus mindset of the hustler's mindset, and we have yet to establish ourselves as really good business owners. And so something needs to change in your business. And I hope and pray that it starts with you making a change in your business and doing something better and pushing yourself to become a better individual and develop yourself into an entrepreneur that I know that you can become. And with that, I'll see you in the next episode.